Good morning, everyone. We are going to be taking a out of the way walk today. The walk is going to be along 2nd Avenue in Sunset Park. We like to call Industry City down here. It's very industrial where we're going. But I did get, a number of requests back in the day to do it. And I always said, maybe I'll do it. So here we are. We're going to do it. So right now where we are, though, we're not on 2nd. We are on, I believe we're on 29th Street. Wasn't paying attention when I turned the corner, but we are going to be crossing 3rd Avenue. And then we will be on our way to 2nd Avenue. And then we're going to walk 2nd Avenue all the way down to about 60th Street. Some of the apartment buildings along the street. To get across 3rd Avenue. 3rd Avenue down this way is probably one of the noisiest, most unpleasant avenues in Brooklyn. As you see, you got the Gowanus above us. This area is, just like the name implies, industrial. This area is known as, it's Sunset Park, but it's known as Industrial City, or Industry City, I should say. You got the court building over here, I believe. Oh, actually, we're walking right by the jail. Look at that. Yes, this is the jail. Which leads me into, yes, this is not a great area. So, if you ever wanted to walk in a bad area of Brooklyn, here we are. But like I said, we are on our way to 2nd Avenue. And we are going to get into the street here. By the way, we are on 29th Street. That was why I got kind of turned around. When I saw the prison, I was like, I thought I was on 30th Street. Well, I thought I was on 29th Street first, but then as I was walking up the block, I was like, no, maybe I'm on 30th Street. But no, we are on 29th, so this is the front. Arkham Asylum. Got a wind turbine out here. This is a recycling plant out here. Got some power stations to my right. We are on the end of Brooklyn. There's nothing down here. We're going to be walking pretty much in an area where there's a lot of warehouses, still some old signs of the rails that used to run along 2nd Avenue. Some of those rails you'll see when we get up to like 39th Street are still in use today. And we'll stay out in the street. It's the prison complex. You won't want to be down here during a prison break. Federal Bureau of Prisons. You can see here on the street, well, if you look on the street down here, you'll see the rails, I think. You see the rails right there on the street. And when we get to 39th Street, we will see some of the rails that are still being used. We're looking at, it looks like a whole bunch of parking over here. We're going to get on the sidewalk over here now. So as you can see, it's, you know, it's all big warehouse buildings. Out there is the Industry City building. I'm pretty sure they still use it. The Brooklyn Nets have a training center in there. They have like a site in there. Look at this building. This is old. Look at this. And you can see the old rails here. Let's look at the rails. Like, oh, this guy's gonna turn. You can see the old rails. It is cold today. It is only 32 degrees right now. 0 Celsius. And it is pretty windy out. Got some cobblestones down here. can see it's all the old industrial buildings from the last 100 years still standing, used for different things. I know working in the technology industry for the last 20 years, 25 years, I know some of these buildings hold data centers, and what those are those basically just areas that hold a whole bunch of servers. So when you go online and well, let's use YouTube for example, right? So you go online and you're pulling up a web page or a video. A lot of these warehouses may have floors dedicated to data centers, where what they do is it allows for traffic through multiple geolocations around the world, so that, like, say maybe you're streaming live on YouTube and you're using like a New York server. Some of these buildings house those servers. This is where St. Mark's Comics is, I believe. There's not a lot of foot traffic down here. There's really nothing down here for people to be walking around other than me. It is cold though, man. It is really cold down here. I'd say the wind chill is definitely below probably in the 20s right now. You can see all these buildings have a lot of these wide open walk-in spaces in between. You'll look up here, pretty much just all warehouses that have been repurposed over the years for businesses. Making sure we get a good look in all of these spaces in between these buildings that we keep passing by. Now we will get on our way. This is Costco over here, I believe. I believe this is Costco. Yes, Costco. I do this walk so you don't have to do this. If you've ever wondered what this area looks like, here you go. I'm going to show you some train tracks in a second. And these train tracks that we're about to see, these are still in use. to this day. Very rarely, but they are used to move things like, I think the one thing that a lot of people see down here is when they move the old train cars, subway train cars that are going to be used for scrap. They run them along these rails, and then they go to First Avenue, and then they end up going through the Army terminal and over to the barge. This is how they would also move and deliver some of the cars that go out to Staten Island. So here we are. So they do use these rails. These rails do get used very rarely. So what we'll do is we'll walk a little bit down here and kind of show you and try and get the sun out of the shot. There you go. Now, if you ever wonder where these rails go to, these rails eventually ends up down over by 36th Street. And they got fences and gates up here. But basically, these are the rails that ends over by 36th Street, where the D train turns into 4th Avenue and 36th Street station. And then these rails will continue out through that lot area that you see in front of me, and then eventually turn onto 1st Avenue. We're on 2nd Avenue here, so. See here, some of the old rails are still exposed. Now these rails, these definitely are not used. These are the old trolley line rails. You can see the cobblestones are still there. This area of 2nd Avenue is when it gets really busy. There's a lot more reasons to be down here. You got a lot of auto shops, body shops. We will be passing the hospital. It used to be called Lutheran. It's now Langone now. NYU Langone. (42nd Street). Might have been a couple months ago we did that 42nd Street walk. This is where we Remember, we went down this block. Well, actually, that was the 15th Street walk. That was the 15th Street walk where we went to the park. But we also did this one here, too. Yeah, 2nd Avenue is definitely not the nicest avenue to be on. It is definitely interesting, I would say that. We're gonna cross over and take a look at some of the art that's on the walls over there. Some of the wall art over here for these businesses. Urban Air Adventure Park. Really not art. It looks like you know, big plastered photos. I smell baked goods. It smells like, must be a bakery center over here that bakes stuff in mass production and ships it out. We're gonna go on the street here because it looks like this guy's moving around. I'm gonna tell you what, it may look like crap, but it smells like a big cinnamon bun right now. It smells really good. Where is this coming from? It's The winds are coming out of the west, which is the northwest is pretty much the direction I'm facing. So wherever this is coming from, it's in front of me. So I got some rails right below me, and they go in that building over there. All right, maybe this is it right here. Some kind of bakery or something. I'm sure there might be somebody that throws it in the comment section what I'm smelling, like where it's coming from. This it smells like there's like a big bakery or something around here. There's always somebody that knows this area. There's always an expert for each area. A lot of people would say, I know a lot about Bensonhurst and Ziker Heights, and even Bay Ridge because I grew up there. But this area, I know enough. You know, I know about a lot of the buildings and the rails and stuff like that and what's down here. But as far as history, or if there's something down here that I don't know about, there's usually somebody will throw something in the comment section and let everybody know. So you see, I'm the only one down here. Other than the people working, there is nobody down here. Now we'll be ending the walk at 60th Street. The 2nd Avenue, so this road continues all the way into Bay Ridge. But it stops being 2nd Avenue at about 60th Street and turns into Ridge Boulevard. So for those of you that live on Ridge Boulevard, this is pretty much the other side of that road. North of 60th Street is 2nd Avenue, and south of 60th Street is Ridge Boulevard. But it is the same road. It just changes the names once you get to a certain point. May start hearing a lot of ambulances down here at times. This is where the hospital is. We're actually going to cross over. This guy's backing out because the street is blocked by that truck. By the way, that big cinnamon bun smell went away a few blocks back. So. You got the City Harvest building across the street. We're coming up on 54th Street and where the hospital is. Hospital's on 55th. I was saying earlier, it used to be very recently, for many years, people still call it Lutheran, but it's been renamed. Bezos, you know, the Amazon guy, supposedly recently gave them $25 million to help restore the hospital and upgrade it. For instance, you could see Lutheran Pharmacy, so they, you know, the namesake, you know, is still around. The surrounding businesses. We got the park over here coming up. It doesn't even look like a hospital though. You know, it's, I ain't gonna lie. Looks more like a warehouse. Alright, so we're about to get into a very open area of 2nd Avenue. We're about to pass by the Brooklyn Army Terminal, so we'll get to see that in a second, and then we'll be wrapping up the walk on 60th Street. So yeah, I was saying earlier, this is, you know, like, I like to walk everywhere, so, you know, it's definitely not the nicest area I've shown on my YouTube channel. It's more of the gritty aspect of Brooklyn. That's the thing about the channel, though. We try to show it all. We try to, get into areas and show all the different sides of the city, good and bad. This is the cancer center here for the hospital. We're going to cross over and we're going to walk along probably the longest uninterrupted part of the walk. We're going to be walking right outside the Brooklyn Army Terminal. And you remember earlier I said those rails when we were back on 39th Street. That's First Avenue over there. That's where those rails go through that. They go through that terminal. And it eventually ends up out where the barge lines are. There's railroads that go right to the end where the ocean is. Or say where the harbor is, and then they are able to put the train cars onto a barge and then ship them over to Staten Island or New Jersey, wherever they got to go. This whole area was recently redone. It was closed for a couple of years. They had to redo this whole sidewalk. They added the bike path to my left here that you see. But for a number of years coming down here, as of recently, like maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, it was a mess coming down here. Everything was closed off while they were constructing everything. Everything you see here is fairly new, all upgraded. The road, everything, even the roads. You can see in there is the Brooklyn Army Terminal. There's a lot of businesses in there. We're now at 60th Street, so we're gonna end the walk at 65th Street. Or close to that. What we'll do is we'll cross over for the last few blocks. Since this area right here, well, you know what, the other side is not as good either. There's really nothing down here at this point. What we'll do is I'll show you all the we'll stay on the side and I'll show the rails. There's like a rail yard out here. Very cold today. It is a cold, windy day. Got some houses over here that pretty much line up right to the end on 2nd Avenue here. This is 62nd Street right here. And we're still walking beside the Brooklyn Army Terminal. It's a very big complex. Well, look at the bright side. We got 2nd Avenue out of the way. This was an avenue I wasn't ever going to plan on walking, but we did it. Don't know if we'll ever return. I have no idea. I don't think I'll return. I've seen enough of it. Nothing really changes down here, so this is where the in a moment I'll show you, this is where the rail yard is. It's the entrance to the Brooklyn Army Terminal here. I could see the rail cars, but if I turn the camera you wouldn't see anything because of this fence. So and there goes the 65th Street Towers. You could see these buildings from miles. Miles and miles and miles. No matter where you are in the 5 boroughs, if you look in this direction, you'll always see these buildings. And it stinks really bad down here. This is a really nasty area. So this is where 2nd Avenue ends, by the way. 65th Street. I said 60th Street earlier. I was off for a few blocks, but this is where 2nd Avenue ends and becomes Ridge Boulevard when you pass the Gowanus up there, which is now, if you remember, the beginning of the walk, we crossed under it on 3rd, and this is where it kind of curves around. And we'll end the walk, and before we end the walk, I'll show you the rail yard. It's over here. There's a lot of trees over here, so we're getting out of the way of the trees, and then you can see the big rail yard that's down here, that's still active. It is a very active rail yard. So let me see if I can position the camera through one of these chain links here so that the camera focuses very well. So here we go. 1 second. And there we go. That is the rail yard. This is where all the rails. So these rails here that you see going beyond, you see them below. So if you look out there to the right, is where those rails from 1st Avenue lead over there with the, and then these rails right here that you see under me, these are the rails that line up with the N train down 65th Street for some time before they kind of bear off and then ends up into Queens, but this is where they end. And yeah, this is, like I said, it's still a pretty active yard. So there you go. I want to thank everybody for taking a walk. We needed to get a walk in today, so we did 2nd Avenue and got it out of the way. And we'll end it here at the end of 2nd Avenue and the beginning of Ridge Boulevard in Bay Ridge. We are now in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. So, take care, everyone. Catch everyone on the next walk. Wow, this guy does a U-turn in the middle of the avenue. There we go. Take care, everyone.